Well, welcome everybody to NACMA Academy. This is our first session. Super excited about this. This is our second year. This is aimed to provide programming and learning opportunities for you guys, undergrads, GAs, young professionals. Just as a reminder, this is free. So please spread the word to all of your friends, all the people that you work alongside. This is for you, undergrads, GAs, young professionals, anyone in the business. Last year we had over 300 registrants, so you can keep registering, so just make sure you spread the word. And just be on the lookout for these upcoming conversations. Again, all of this stuff is on NACMA, the NACMA webpage, but in November, we're going to have a networking growth informational interview session. December, we're going to talk about the important materials to have ready to go, your resume, your cover letter, your references. January, we're going to actually have a senior admin and athletic director panel. So that's going to be really cool. Advice on how to finish strong. February, we're going to approach summer internships, career searching, March, job interviews 101, what to expect, how to prepare. April, professional development, how to improve over the summer. And May, just NACMA Convention 101. Make sure you guys are prepared. Housekeeping wise, this is for you guys. You guys got to ask questions. We have a set of questions for Zoe and Tanner, but you're going to also hear from James and Nick as well. But this is for you. We're taking an hour of time to be with you guys. So you guys got the perfect group to be with. We will drop contact information as we start to talk, because again, we want you all to keep in touch with us. So please keep that in mind. And as far as NACMA news, we do have a Twitter account. So just make sure you follow up with us or reach out to us as much as you can. Besides that, our NACMA Academy, we actually have a subcommittee that focuses on building this program. So what I would like to do is ask for James and Nick to introduce themselves, and then we'll go to the panelists.
I'll go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. My name is James McClinton III. I am the Assistant AD for Marketing and External here at Furman University in the great city of Greenville, South Carolina. Been a part of NACMA for a very long time. Appreciate everyone being here, and I look forward to having a great conversation this evening.
Thank you, James. Go ahead, Nick.
Hey, everyone. My name is Nick Canine. I'm the Assistant Director here of Marketing at the University of Louisville. Been in Louisville for 2.5 years now, full-time. And then I was a GA here as well, but been a part of NACMA for 2 years, 1 year on the committee that I am now. Actually, this is my first year that I am on this committee. And so really looking forward to being on these calls throughout the entire year and getting to know all of you as well.
Thank you, Nick. I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Jamal Walton. I'm the Senior Associate AD of External. Senior Associate AD for Sport Admin and Strategic Initiatives at the University of Washington. I'm also a part of our NACMA board, so super excited to talk through what we do and how we do things. So any comments, good, bad, or indifferent, send them our way. We want to improve as best as we can. So without further ado, we're going to go to our two panelists. So I'm going to pass it to Zoe. We're going to go ladies first, and then we'll go with Tanner. So they're going to provide a little background and timeline of how they got to where they're at.
Hi, everyone. Jim, thanks. And the rest of the NACMA Academy team, thanks, guys, for having me. And Tanner, and I'm super excited to be here with you guys. So my name's Zoe Gazelle. I am currently one of the assistant directors of marketing and fan experience here at the University of Colorado Boulder. So I'm from North Carolina. I did my undergrad at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. So I spent lots of time on the beach during undergrad, and that's where I got my start in college athletics through my major at UNC Wilmington. I was required to have a handful of internships. I went to our then at the time athletic director, Jimmy Bass, and asked what all I could do. So I went to him. He gave me to the Seahawk Club, so our development and fundraising arm, to basically do some free work, some free labor for them. But that was a great experience to get my grounding and my footing in college athletics with understanding how and where the money comes from to support our student athletes and staff and coaches. From then, I graduated from UNC Wilmington in 2020. So directly into the pandemic. And I worked for a short time actually at Wofford College. So down the road from where James is in South Carolina. And I was an assistant for marketing there. During that time, I was interviewing around to see if there was going to be a better fit for when I could move away. Due to the pandemic, I was stuck at home. So I did my research and I ended up at James Madison University in Harrisonburg, Virginia. During my time there, I was also studying at the University of Washington in the Intercollegiate Athletic Leadership Program, where I met Jam. So that was a lot of fun. I graduated from there in 2022. And after then, I got my start here at Colorado, and I oversee our marketing efforts for our women's volleyball program, our women's lacrosse program, and I am a secondary contact for men's basketball and football as well. And I also oversee the interns, which Cassidy's one of my interns. So thanks for being here, Cassidy. Also, my contact information will be in the chat, and Tanner, I'll pass it to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Zoe. And like Zoe said, I'm super excited to be on this call today. Glad Jamal thought of me. And hey, round of applause for Cassie getting brownie points. The intern showing up for her boss. That's big time. That's right. A good start right there, Cassidy. But yeah, super excited. My name's Tanner Morris. I am the Associate AD for Fan Engagement and Ticketing at Oklahoma Baptist University in Shawnee, Oklahoma. It's about 40 minutes east of Oklahoma City, just to kind of give you an idea where I'm at. So not quite the middle of nowhere, but pretty close sometimes. Division II school in the Great American Conference. Before I got here, I was at the College of Charleston. I was there for 2 years as a marketing and ticketing assistant. We did not like UNCW. No offense, Zoe. That is where I met Jamal. He was over external there. And I was there for 2 years, had a great time, learned a lot as a marketing and ticketing assistant, worked in the box office. That was where the ticketing title kind of came in. So got to learn a lot there, and that has played a major role here now that I'm overseeing ticketing at OBU. Before that, I was at my alma mater where I received my undergrad and my master's at the University of Southern Mississippi. And if you watched last Tuesday's game on ESPN2 against USA, don't hold that against me, because that was really rough against South Alabama. They were a little better when I was there. But I, like Zoe, got my start with some free labor. That seems to be, or was the trend. I don't know now, things change, but I was happy to get the experience with the sports marketing department at the University of Southern Mississippi, just to see if it was something I was interested in. I had jobs, I was doing other things too, but quickly learned that it was something I was interested in. I dove in more and asked to be a GA because I knew they had a spot opening up, and got my master's and became a graduate assistant at the University of Southern Mississippi. So that's my quick history there, and I'm going to put my information in too. I'll put my Twitter and Instagram in there. You're going to see quickly that I don't use it the correct way. So don't follow how I use it. Use it as a way to contact me if you have questions or anything. But there's a bunch of people in here that I'm sure use it better than I do. So I'll turn it over for questions, I guess.
Yeah. And Tanner, man, thanks again. Zoe, thanks again. And always super pumped to be working alongside Nick and James. We also have someone, Stephanie, that couldn't make it today. She will also be on our calls as well. And you probably don't see him, but Nick and Lex are part of NACMA, and they do a fantastic job of coordinating the Zooms and the links and a lot of the background logistics. So thank you, Lex, and thank you, Nick, for taking time out of your day to make things like this work. So again, we have questions, but we want your questions to be what we want to answer. So I'm going to kick us off here, but I want you guys to ask us questions. You got professionals in here who are going to be hiring people down the road, and they're probably going to be looking for people like yourself. So again, this is an opportunity for you to ask us questions. So I'll start off. Tanner, Zoe, you guys take it however you want. What are some do's and don'ts when starting a job in athletics? Because we're talking to the future. You know, these are GAs, these are young professionals and just interns. Like, how can we help these guys out, do's and don'ts?
I'll start off. Tanner and I actually were going back and forth over email a little bit about this. So I have a couple notes down here. So excuse me for looking away. I don't want to forget what I was going to touch on, but the first thing that I don't have to look at my notes for is 100%, and you're going to hear this all day from me, all the next 45 minutes, is to really focus on your relationships within your athletic department, and in situations like this within NACMA or NACTA, the greater umbrella that we're within. And I think that that's the biggest thing that's gotten me to where I am now. You're going to hear it over and over again, that networking and relationship building and all of those things are important, but they're definitely the reason that I, one, have gotten to my spot at the University of Colorado Boulder, but two, that I'm successful here and that I have the opportunities and the connections to make sure that my programs are supported, that my rest of my marketing team is supported, that I can offer these connections to my interns. I was literally talking to Cassidy today about an opportunity and places to look and people to reach out to. So I think that that's something that I'm going to hammer home, and to be intentional about those relationships. Not only is it important to have a strong relationship within your team and to foster that, but also within the athletic department as a whole. I know not everyone's fortunate enough to have this situation, but here at Colorado, the majority of our athletic department shares one floor of the Champion Center, and we overlook the football stadium, which is nice, but having everybody in the same space all of the time is a huge help. So I'm seeing coaches in the bathroom. I'm seeing our athletic director down my hallway. We all spend a lot of time together, and it's a lot of fun to be able to check in on everybody, no matter if it's about work or if it's about personal things that they have going on that they are excited about or whatnot. Checking in on people's kids is always fun for me to hear about what's going on in their lives, but being able to do that and being intentional about it, and continuing to work on that has been a really big part of my job and being able to be successful. And just the other day, a small example, we were doing our Gold Rush game and we had 6,000 t-shirts to get out to students, and I did not want to move 6,000 boxes or 6,000 t-shirts. So I was able to call our athletic trainer for our lacrosse program, and immediately she gave me a golf cart. I don't have a golf cart to use. I needed a golf cart, but having had that relationship with her, and not just passing her by on game day or in the hallway when I'm over in her offices, and being intentional about checking in on people, and that kind of thing has been a very big part of my success here. Something else within y'all's situation that you're spending a lot of time being interns or entry-level positions, which I would consider myself entry-level as well. This is my second year being full-time in this field, is that making sure that you're on top of your relationships, helping people out and saying yes to those experiences that you may not want to do or that you didn't know was an opportunity, and being a sponge and soaking up all of those opportunities and ideas and ways to get your hands in other people's projects or game day preparations or things of that nature. So that's one thing that I would suggest as well. And then lastly, my don't is to not let those opportunities pass you by. A lot of us need those extra hands, and I tell my interns this often, probably not often enough, that I cannot do my job without them. Game day would not happen without them. All the fun on the football field would not happen without them. So making sure that they're, taking those opportunities and saying yes to when I do need extra time or I do need extra hands for various things. So that's where I would leave that. Tanner?
Yeah, well said, Zoe. I agree with both those, or all those do's and don'ts. Yeah, like Zoe said, we talked about it a little bit. And so I was kind of interested to see where she would go with it, and she went a little different route than I did, which was good. That's exactly what we needed. So for my dues, I put show up on time. So that seems like an easy one, but yeah, I mean, I'm only at my third stop, so I haven't been everywhere. Jamal, he's been at 10 different places, so he probably seen it more than I have. But people don't always show up on time, and that makes a big difference. We, a lot, especially, some of your bosses are some of them are going to be older, and they're going to come up. They may have came up in a time where showing up on time meant a lot. So you need to make sure that you're putting forth a good effort to show up on time. I can remember at the College of Charleston, I was new in the Charleston area, and there was traffic because it was raining and the whole downtown was flooded. I didn't even know that was a thing, and I was late. And I'm thankful for this, but my boss, she kind of was like, hey, that's not an excuse. We all have to deal with the traffic. We all deal with this. You got to know where you're going and know how to get there. And that was me being, just out of a GA, new, marketing and ticketing assistant. So don't let that happen to you if you can help it. Make a good effort to show up on time, even, a year in, 2 years in, make sure you're doing that. And then be a team player is another do. We all are going to have things that we're going to do outside of our scope. But just make sure that you're positive about it. Like make sure that you're coming in and you're like, what, this might be a little outside my scope, but you might need that person later on too. Even if they don't say they're thankful, I promise you, I've seen multiple times where it might be years down the road. They're like, dude, I remember that time you helped me out with that. That was big. Like, I really appreciate you doing that. So take the extra effort, be a team player. Don't stay, just doing your thing. And a couple of my don'ts, don't be negative. I kind of just that played into be a team player. And that's that we think that's an easy one too, but it creeps up on you. I get negative real fast, man. I can get things hit you in the face and you're immediately negative for 10 minutes and you didn't even know you were negative, so make sure you're paying attention to that, especially early on in your career, you're paying attention to, your attitude and not being negative. And then my last one was don't get in your head. Don't assume your boss is thinking this about you, your coworkers thinking that about you. You're doing a good job. You're doing what you need to be doing. You're showing up on time. You're being a team player. You're being positive. Don't get in your head. So that was kind of my last thing. It's really easy to do when you first get in the workforce. You're at a new place. You're in a new location. This profession makes you move away from your hometown. So don't get in your head whenever you get there. Just keep doing what you've been doing. You're all here right now. So just remember that you put in the time to get where you're at.
Awesome answers, Tanner and Zoe. Nick, James, you got anything to add? Any do's and don'ts, man, in y'all's world?
For me, it's just honestly echoing what they said. What Tanner said by showing up on time, being a team player, and then Zoe, I'll echo her sentiment of saying we couldn't do it without y'all. I tell our interns that all the time because it really is true. Interns are the lifeblood of the organization, right? So you all just keep doing what you're doing, keep grinding, and it'll pay off in the long term for sure.
Yeah, and just to echo off everybody, just knowing your value as an intern. Me coming from a smaller school, being in a small school network like Furman and other previous institutions, interns, J's, that was my lifeline. Couldn't have did any job that I ever did in marketing without them. A lot of one-man shops plus interns and GAs. So just continue to just try to, understand your value in that position and do the best you can. Be the best at whatever it is you're doing, because that's how you get noticed.
Well said. Well said. Zoe and Tanner, I know you gave us the do's and don'ts. This next question is, what can I do? What can they do early in their time on campus, starting the semester off, the quarter off, to set themselves up long term? Is there anything else? I know you guys hit on some things, but is there anything else?
I can go.
Yeah.
To kind of set yourself up long term, I would say go to things that are outside of your realm on campus. Get out of your silo. And that's not to work. I'm not talking about to work. I'm talking about go to, a theater thing on campus. If you've got the free time to do that. I know we all work a lot, but if you can find time to go to another event on campus or something else that Student Life is hosting, or it can even be another athletics thing, a scrimmage that you don't have to work, or a sport, from a sport that's not in season, just go and show that you're interested, you care about what they have going on, even though they're not in season, or even though that's not in athletics. That goes a long way with the relationships like Zoe was talking about, how important those are. You might meet people there that you didn't know you needed to meet. So I'd say go outside of, your silo and enjoy campus and everything that has to offer, and that'll help set you up for long-term, where you're at.
I can definitely speak to this, Jamal. I think two things that come to mind. One is making sure that you're organized, and everyone does it differently, scheduling interns and things. But the way that I do it here with the other assistant director here, we assign our interns the games that they have to work, and it always works out best when they know exactly what they have going on down the line within the semester. Of course, things can come up, and activities or events that you want to partake in come up later, but making sure that you have your schedule as down pat as you possibly can going into the semester, and then that makes our lives easier, so we're not frantically trying to find those interns at the last minute because someone wanted to go on a trip somewhere. But being able to have that organization helps us in that way. And then obviously it will help you in your own scheduling and getting to be at those extra events and saying yes when we need the last minute help. And just making sure that you're knowing what you're putting your time and energy into and what you can commit to. And then the second thing is, when you get to campus, or when you start your internship, or when you start your first job, back to my whole relationship point, is that if you are going and making those connections purposefully, when you get somewhere and you don't pass by someone 1,000,002 times and not introduce yourself, it makes your life a lot easier down the road. Because how awkward is it to see someone all the time, and then all of a sudden you need something from them, or you've heard something happened, or whatever it may be, and then you have to introduce yourself. And you're like, oh, well, I've seen you a million times. Like, I'm Zoe and I do this. If you've already done that, you're kind of skipping that entire step. And it really helps whatever your team needs or whatever your unit needs to get done, and to have those relationships across the board, not just, we keep saying silos, but within your silo and within your department, within the athletic department.
That's awesome. I got to think one or two things to add, and James, I'll toss it to you afterwards. I would just say, for the most part, everybody that's in the intern role, GA role, there's probably some type of a manual, there's some type of, procedure that you get when you start, and like Tanner said, be on time, the apparel you have, being presentable. You represent, in this case, the University of Washington. So the way that I look, the way I present myself, if you want to do things long term, just handle those things. Be on time, do what you're asked to do, and have fun. Have a great attitude. The worst thing you can be is somebody that has a bad attitude, and then you become somebody that nobody wants to work with. And then the other thing is, obviously there's a bunch of opportunity, but if you sign up for one thing for that semester and you're wondering why you're not getting any opportunities, you need to be involved. You need to be involved. You need to manage your time well, and you'll be surprised just being around and being associated what you will learn. And then you may find one or two things that you do well. And then most of the time, the Zoes, the Tanners, the James, and the Nicks, they're going to say, well, where is Cassidy? Where's Carson? Where's Dayton? Because they see that you guys bring something to the table. So keep in mind, those are really, really big things. So James, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was just gonna echo off of Tanner and Zoe. I think, understanding, especially early on, how important those university relationships outside of athletics, I think that is going to set you up long term, exponentially. Because just I've worked on both sides. I've worked on the university side, I've worked on the athletic side. Being able to create those relationships, supporting, the different programming that universities have going on, that can lead to future collaborations with what you're doing with some type of promotion at your games. I'm all about collaboration. So anytime, I'm always preaching, go go out, attend other university events, show your face, let them know that you're supporting what it is they do, and they will then return the favor and doing that as well. It's so much low hanging fruit when you do have that conversation on the university side that, if you just work together, both of you guys can get great wins out of it. Nick, do you have anything to add to that question?
No, I'm all good here. I think, yeah, everybody covered pretty much everything there.
So Tanner and Zora, we're going to kind of transition a little bit into another question. When we talk about, what's the best way for, these young professionals to, manage up, in their current situation. You guys can just expound on that a little bit, please.
Tanner, I can go first. I think this is an interesting question, and it's kind of twofold for me. I think one thing that comes to mind is that I'm constantly trying to work on this with myself and my own managers, and trying to hold them accountable and make sure that I'm being treated as I want to be treated and all those good things. But I think something that I appreciate from my own interns is that they're going to hold me accountable and they're going to keep me honest. And if there's something that I'm missing, or if something doesn't make sense, they're not just talking amongst themselves and trying to figure it out. If they're not coming to a consensus, or if there's something that's like blaringly wrong or something's not lining up, they're coming to me and they're having that conversation. So I think it's partially due to the fact that I have made it clear that I'm open and willing to listen and here to help them, and willing to work with their schedules and things like that. But it's also something that, making sure that they're being honest with me and they're feeling comfortable coming to me. So I encourage you to feel comfortable going to your supervisors, and making sure that that connection and relationship is there. So when those times are arising, that you're going to them and holding them accountable. And we all have a lot going on personally and professionally. So it's important to, keep each other accountable, here, up and down. So that's what I found helpful, and something that I would give myself that same advice to.
Yeah, I would agree with Zoe. Managing up, I think it's one of those things that if you try too hard, it's not going to come naturally. Like it's kind of tough to explain, but like if you're doing those things that we've discussed earlier, you're communicating, you're showing up on time, you're doing those small things that are big things, managing up is gonna just start to happen. You're introducing yourself to other people, you're vulnerable at times, when you go to your supervisor and tell them, like, this is what I want to do, what you're doing, or I want to do what this is, you should be able to do that. And your supervisor should feel comfortable with you asking that question or telling them that. That was the whole thing behind when I was a student worker at my alma mater. I wanted to be a GA. Well, one of our GAs who was leaving, he was like, well, tell our bosses, tell the associate AD for external, that I'm leaving and the end of the semester, have a meeting, set a meeting with him and tell him. And I was like, I can't talk to him. Like, what are you talking about, man? It's like 8 steps ahead of me, above me. I can't talk to him. Did it, was one of the best conversations ever. And I ended up getting the GA spot, so, and that might've been the reason why, because of that communication, because I showed him ahead of time, like, hey, I want that. So managing up, I'd say that's, it kind of ties into, I think, another question that might pop up here, and just, talking to your supervisor, be honest, you can be vulnerable. Even though that's difficult, if you've got a good supervisor, they'll point you in the right direction and, not take advantage of you or anything like that. So, that's what I would advise. That's what I've done. It's worked for me. If I was in your shoes, I would do it all the same way.
Great advice. It seems like we got a question from Adam. So, hey, Adam, I don't know if we can see you, man. I mean, this is awesome, man. Let's see your face if we can, man. You got the first question. So, what are the key differences between working in college athletics when you may be dealing with multiple sports and working in a professional league. So, yeah, does anybody want to take that? Drew, okay, and Dayton, they got their hands up. Okay, so we got 2 more questions. Okay. Does anybody want to take that question? Okay, Zoe, go ahead.
I can go. I will be honest, I don't have any professional experience in the professional sports realm. Let me make sure I read your question one more time. Yeah, so from my experience, I will speak on behalf of having multiple sports to oversee and make sure that they're all feeling, attended to and all that good stuff. It's definitely tough to manage, again, those relationships and making sure that everyone's feeling like they're treated equally and all of that good stuff. But having open lines of communication is very important. And that's, I feel, very different than working in the professional sports setting. My younger brother works for the Cincinnati Reds, and he is in a sense, he's tunnel vision because there's one sporting event happening and one coaching staff to focus on and one set of athletes. And that way they can focus all their energy into that. But then it's also something that I really appreciate about college sports is that I have the opportunity to be ingrained in different sports at different times of the year. And I honestly think I would get bored being in professional sports and having one sport to focus on. I worked in a summer league baseball program back during my undergrad, and I learned that that was something that I didn't really want to do, is be stuck, for lack of a better word, with one sport. So I think those are some differences. I think some people enjoy, having that one thing to focus on, but it helps me to have those multiple groups to focus on and seasons throughout the school year.
Great answer. All right, Adam, you started a trend, my man. So we're going to try to keep this in order. We're going to go with Dayton first, then Drew. And from the panel and subcommittee, let's just keep one answer per person so we can try to get through this. So Dayton, go ahead. And Drew, you're on deck.
Yeah, just from a side of, as far as interviews go, how do you guys recommend standing out and highlighting certain qualities about yourself within the interview process?
Anna, you want to take that one?
Man, not really. I've botched some interviews, man. Let me tell you. So hey, go ahead and just that happens. All right. Everybody in here at some point in time is gonna mess up. You're gonna get off that interview call and you're gonna go, well, that was unfortunate. I wish that would have gone differently. You might get lucky and still get the call back. That's fine. That's a great question. I mean, I think just in the good interviews that I've had, one of the things that I went in with was I tried to just be me. Whereas the ones I did bad, I tried to fit into whatever I thought that they wanted. And that's not what you want anyway. Being young, you're thinking, well, I want this job, and I want and it's like, if that job's not for you, it's not for you. Be yourself. You know what you know. Hopefully you know what you don't know. And if you don't, you'll find out soon. And just do the best you can on the interview, don't try and be more than what you are. What you are is enough. If it works, it works. So that would be my advice, just being yourself on the interview. That's kind of a lame answer, but that's the interviews that have worked. That's what worked for me.
And I'll just add, and we're gonna go to you, Drew. Then Nick, you'll be on deck. I actually hired Tanner at the College of Charleston. He did some things that everybody needs to do. His resume didn't have any misspellings, punctuation, any problems like that. He had a great attitude. His references, when I called the references, they talked only great things about him. There were no surprises. I've called references before and references were like, Tanner applied for a job. So make sure you're talking to your references and telling them about those things so everyone's aware. Yeah, great answer, Tanner. Okay, so we're going to go with Drew, then Nick, then Carson, then Cassidy.
Hello, I'm Drew Weimers. I'm Athletic Administration, GA at Kent State. This is a new position here. What advice would you guys give for a brand new position?
And
Is it, should I go again or should I, it's fine. All right. Well, my position here wasn't brand new, but I was the second person in it. So I can kind of, feel what you're stepping in there. Yeah, I mean, I think that, this is for you, this is it's very important to have clear communication from your supervisors. It's a new position. Not every supervisor is going to be like Jamal and have the whole first year planned out for you. Those are rare to find. So, don't think that whatever they are giving you is enough. Like if you need to know more, feel free to go and get more. But when you do that, make sure that you're prepared. You're not just asking because you're bored or you feel like you've run out of things to do. Make sure you know what your role is. That's the thing I've learned with the new positions. Even after I got here in this position, I've been here, I think 3 years. There were still some things I was like, so what is the exact role of this position? And even compared to other schools, I think when you go somewhere else and you think you're at the same position somewhere else, you're at a new school, that position can mean something different. It'd be the same thing. You need to find out what your job is, go to your supervisor and make sure you have a set of questions if those questions haven't been answered and figure out what you need to be doing. That would be my suggestion for a new position.
Right. And we can come back to these questions, panelists, just to help give more advice. So Nick, go ahead, and Carson, you'll go afterwards.
Hi, my name's Nick Johnson. I'm a marketing intern at Illinois. My question specifically for Zoe, it's a little bit unrelated, so sorry if I'm kind of detracting from the theme of the conversation, but with Dion kind of coming to town, it's obviously brought a lot on the field, but probably even more so off the field. So I'm just kind of curious, kind of the strategies you guys have kind of implemented, or kind of the ways you've kind of used his image to promote, the team and the university as a whole. Just kind of the challenges and benefits to having to market, his image off the field.
Sure, Nick, thank you for your question. There's I could have done a whole hour talk on this in and of itself, I think. But a couple things that we've noticed a lot is, yes, it's brought football to this higher level and this higher standard and all of those good things, but it's also done a great deal for our athletic department as a whole. The exponential growth that we've experienced here, even down to like how many t-shirts in the team store that we've sold over the last almost year at this point, has been unreal. So it's been really great to have everybody kind of be lifted up. I mentioned I work with our women's volleyball program, and I think it was the first weekend that Fox Big Noon was here. We had Desmond Howard want to come to a volleyball game because we were playing before the night before a football game, and that would have never happened, right? That wouldn't have been a thing that would have occurred for us in our women's volleyball program. But being able to bring him in and have his social media and himself on his own social media saying that he's going to be at this volleyball game at this time to give away these free tickets or whatever he did, gear and all the fun things that he brought, and not to mention the other talent that he brought with him, that obviously increased our attendance and things like that, but it also increased the eyeballs on social media and all of that kind of stuff. So just really kind of running with all of the craziness. And we've also had to really focus on being true to ourselves, and our athletic director, Rick George, he's forever telling us to make sure that we're doing the right thing the right way, and not cutting corners and all of that kind of stuff, which is something I really admire about him. But it's also a really good reminder to not, get too excited or too full of ourselves and things of that nature. So that's definitely been something that we've focused on. And then on a lighter note and a more fun note, it's just made things even more exciting. I was so excited. I was here before Dion got here, and I loved my job, and coming to work was so much fun. But now it's like this buzz, and it's like palpable, like you can feel it in this building, especially like the day before games and things like that. So taking that personally and using that to my advantage and our team's advantage, I think has been a really big part of all of this. And yeah, just enjoying it and living in the moment, and realizing this may never come again in my professional career and soaking it all up. So I hope that answers your question.
The prime time question. I knew that was coming.
Me too.
All
Jay,
right.
me too.
Good stuff. Okay, Carson, and Cassidy is next.
Hi, I'm Carson Piper. I'm a marketing intern with Pitt Athletics right now. My basic question was, so I'm thinking about being a GA next year, and I was kind of wondering, like, I know right now there aren't really positions available or being posted until March, my bosses have told me. So what is your suggestions, like what we do while we wait for those to happen? Any advice for that? Thanks.
I'll jump in here quick, just simply because I had this exact conversation with Cassidy not 4 hours ago. She was saying the same thing. She was struggling with finding positions. So sounds like people are in the same boat, which you're correct. I do think trying to be patient, I know that's easier said than done. And then if there are people, like say people on this call, for example, that you're interested in what they do, simply reaching out and chatting with them and picking their brain. I'm seeing lots of head shakes, which is good. But yeah, seriously, and taking advantage of being in the position that you are as an undergrad intern. And in grad school, they would always tell us to use the grad school title to get people to talk to us, and they're so right. I'm never going to turn down a student that wants to talk to me about my job, right? Yes, it might take a couple times to get it scheduled, but that's definitely something that I would suggest. And I was telling Cassidy also, look at schools that you're interested in going to, and going down their staff directory or their job sites or whatever it's called, to then find people that you're actually interested in speaking with, and be courteous of people's time and ask for 20 minutes or whatever that may be, and have your questions prepared and go from there. And who knows, you might learn something, or you might create a relationship that serves you for the long run.
And I would also add too, like, you know, if I'm traveling to if I'm traveling to Colorado, and you know that Washington's coming down there, Carson, I would say, like, hey, Zoe, do you know anybody from University of Washington that's been in my shoes or could offer some advice? I mean, that's great where Zoe could say, yeah, I know Jamal, So don't be afraid to, like, tell the people that you're working, for, like, what your dreams or aspirations are, and they can remember people to, try to put you in a position for success. So keep that in mind. All right, Cassidy, Hannah, and then Jack. This is great interaction, guys. This is what we want. This is all for you. So keep them coming.
Hi guys, I'm Cassidy. I'm one of Zoe's interns at University of Colorado Boulder. This is my second year under her supervision. My question was honestly the same exact thing as Carson, because I am graduating in December, and kind of going through that issue of there being like kind of a weird lag in jobs right now with everything being the middle of the season. So I'm going to switch up my question. Basically, I was wondering, I feel like it's a lot easier to apply for jobs when you're working or you're looking to work at your alma mater. So what's your advice when applying for jobs at schools that you never attended and you never necessarily, or you don't know much about, I guess, if that makes sense.
Nick, I see you shaking your head. Do you want to take that, Nick?
Yeah, sure. I got this one. So I would say, because when I first started applying to jobs, I finally got a job at the University of Delaware, and I say finally because I think I went on, it was close to 30 first round interviews, right? So it is a process. It definitely is, but it does eventually happen, right? So I say that because I had never been to Delaware. I had never really been on the East Coast for more than a weekend. So it is different. It is difficult to do that, but it's also a great thing. So I was lucky enough to apply there, go through the interview process, and then ask for a visit because I said, I've never been out there. I'd love to come see it. and explore the area. And the University of Delaware was kind enough to fly me out there, let me visit the area, and really get to know it a little bit better. So I just think I would say don't be afraid to apply to other areas, and then ask the questions, right? So after you submit that application, maybe it's worth reaching out and just following up, saying, "Hey, I've never really lived in this area. Could you tell me some things to do, some places to visit? What's great about Louisville? What's great about UW? What's great about these certain areas?" So definitely don't be afraid to branch out. This industry definitely has a lot of positions all over the country, right? So definitely don't be afraid to apply to those different positions in different geographical locations.
Great answer. Thanks, Nick. Okay, Hannah, and then we'll finish off with Jack.
Hi, my name's Hannah. I'm currently like an intern at the Oregon State Athletics. This is my 4th year back doing it. That's a long story, but I also have a couple other people with me, so I'll have 2 questions. But mine is like, as an intern / GA, how can we best support full-time staff members, sort of outside the basics of like checking in, like if I had volleyball as my sport, checking in on what we need to do with volleyball for the scripts or what we need done that week, just kind of a level up from that with that, since here, for example, at Oregon State, our staff members have like 3 to 4 sports each. So just being able to take a load off them with that, especially with a lot of events for your week and stuff like that.
Somebody want to take that one? I can take a stab at it. I think the more you, and I kind of go back to this, the more you're around, the more you're going to learn things that need to get done. Sarah Elcano, she's down there at OSU. I think, like you said, you're able to go in there and ask her what she needs help with, or, just continuing to do that, I think is number one, making sure that you just reach out and say, "Hey, is there anything that I can help out with?" But I also think a lot of the things, like from like a game day standpoint, building up to the game day, if you know what some of those things are, I think it's great for you to step into the office and say, "Hey, Tanner, look, I know we got to do this on Thursday. I know the routine now. Do you mind if I help you with this, this, and this?" And more than likely, Tanner's going to say, yeah. I mean, for sure. So I think if you know what you need to help out with in that particular area, do it and be creative. If there's an easier way to actually get something done, and even though Zoe may have a way of doing it, it's okay to say, "Hey, Zoe, this is a great idea. I know you've been doing this for the past couple of years, but here's another way after watching this," and that may be the perfect way to do it. So don't be afraid to help minimize and make things smoother for your team. But also, if you know that something is going to be getting done in a system or organizational type of method, just be open to say, "Hey, can I help you do some of these things?" And if they say no, I mean, at least they know that you're being available and you're asking.
And then she has another question too. Hi,
All right.
My name's Marissa. I'm part of Oregon State Athletics as well. I'm a GA / marketing assistant. My question is, how do you handle priorities, especially if you have a crossover season? So for example, I have volleyball and men's basketball. So with November coming up next week, I have like both games at the same time, unless I'm in school as like a grad student. So I just want to know like how, if like you guys had experienced that prior, how you guys handled with that.
I can kind of give something for this, I think. So I didn't really say this too in my intro. So it's kind of like some of the other people on the panel have mentioned, one-stop shop here. So I oversee our 13 sports from a fan engagement and ticketing perspective. And obviously our student interns are monumental in that task. But I would say when you were in your situation, when you're trying to prioritize 2 sports, and you don't want to say like, "Oh, well, basketball is more important than volleyball because it brings in more money. Like you're not going to do that. So go to your supervisor and say, look, hey, I've got these two things. I want to treat them both like they're happening separate. What can I do to make that happen? Where can we pull other people in to make sure both sports are getting what they deserve? And then your sports, they have to understand too that there are multiple things going on. That's not an excuse. That's just a fact. I've had conversations with coaches in advance, so you see that coming up. I've had conversations with coaches and their games are 3 weeks away. Hey, look, we're double dipping that day. We're going to be over here. We're doing this. And then we're going to go and do this. And this is what coverage you're going to get from a stream perspective. This is what coverage you're going to get from an in-game perspective. And they love it. When you just assume that like, oh, they don't care, or, they're focused on the game, that's where you mess up. Always communicate with the coaches what your game plan is in a situation like that, because it's different from your normal game day where it's just one game. So that would be my advice. Communicate with your coaches, find out with your supervisor what's ways that you can do the most with what you have in this situation, and then just grind it out after that, because in school doing those two things, it's going to be a tough time, but you'll be better for it when you come through on the other side.
Great answer, Tanner. Great answer. All right, Jack, man, you've been patient. Go ahead, brother.
Hey guys, I'm Jack. I'm a marketing assistant at the University of Pittsburgh as an undergrad with Carson. My question relates more to how open you should be to moving around the country to find GA jobs, as well as just any position to get you into collegiate athletics, like how important D2 is, D3 is, etc. Where would you guys value a GA position in comparison to getting a full-time like D2 job out of college?
I can go on this one too. I've worked in both the D1 and D2. Being in D2 now, the last 3 years, it's my 4th year now. And when I first, I went to University of Southern Mississippi, small, D1 school, and then College of Charleston doesn't have football, so again, not a very big D1 school, but I never thought I would get out of D1. And I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I'm gonna jump and then I'll come back to your, GA versus D2. I came here because I knew a guy that had this job before me, and he came straight from Southern Miss to this D2 job, and found out that he loved it, loved everything about it, loved the location, loved the people that he was working with, and ended up leaving and going to a D1 and not having a great experience, and all this other stuff, and that happens. I think I wouldn't put stock. This is my personal opinion. Everybody's going to have their own. It depends on your personal goal. You want to be a D1 athletic director one day. You should probably try and stay in D1, but it doesn't mean if you get out, you can't get back in. I would put more stock on the people that you're interviewing with. Get a vibe. When you're in an interview, you need to ask questions. Obviously, they give you an opportunity to do that. To get a vibe for who those people are. How do they manage? How do they manage their people? What kind of place are you going to be working at? That's going to matter more than it being a GA or being a D2 position to me, because the more you can thrive at the location you're at, the better you're going to do, and the more eyes are going to be on you. You'll get back into that D1 job if that's what you want. And I was going to say this too. I hope that answered your question, Jack. That was kind of my answer for you. I wanted to mention to like Cassidy, who's graduating in December. I know that you got Zoe, who's a great supervisor leading you, but that guy I was just talking about, he actually graduated in December, and he didn't get this job until like the end of March. And it was tough watching him, grind it out, go into interviews, trying to figure it out. And then when he didn't even really want to apply for this job because it was D2. Like we don't want to do that. But he did it and loved the interview, had a great interview. They offered him the job, and he ended up taking the job and had a great experience and got back to the D1, after that. So it kind of touches on both there. Like I said, I wouldn't, Jack, I wouldn't put stock on the GA and D2 thing, but I put more stock in location and the people that you're working with or working for.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I know we're about to hit the top of the hour, but just like, Tanner said, what are the responsibilities of the job? Because you're going to see multiple titles and multiple, titles from different schools, but then when you really look at the resume and you see what they're doing, that's what really matters. And the leadership, the management, who is your supervisor? Because if you find somebody that believes in you, that is really wanting the best for you, and they're willing to like help you grow, those are the people you want to be around. Those are the people you want to continue to work for. Unfortunately, that's not always like that, but still do the best job that you can and be the best person that you can in those particular roles. But I mean, I think, to kind of put a bow on this, relationships are very important. There's going to be certain things that maybe are free that you got to do, or maybe are tough that you got to do. Zoe went in and talked to her athletic director, Jimmy Bass, and say, hey, how can I get more involved? You can't be afraid. The biggest risk isn't taking one. If you don't ask, you don't get. You know, I want people to walk through that door that want to be leaders. And whether you're a GA, an assistant director, or senior associate AD, whatever your role is, you're the leader. You're the expert of that role. So I'm counting on you to get the job done and inform me what we're going to do to be the best at that particular area. So right now, if you're working just on scripts for tennis, be the best at it, because sooner or later someone's going to say, what are we doing, or who's doing a good job in that particular area? And that's when your name's going to get up. But as Tanner also talked about, little things, showing up on time, that is a pet peeve of mine. Get there 5 minutes early. You never know who you'll meet, in those 5 minutes. And Nick, I didn't know this about Nick. He applied for multiple 30 times, right? And he's at Louisville, he's getting involved. Like, it's not going to be perfect, guys. It's not going to be perfect. And then, as James was talking about, getting involved, not just in your job, but around campus. There's so many other people that you will meet that will go to different places and remember you. And next thing you know, they're picking up the phone and they're saying, hey, Zoe, I remember you from UNCW. Would you like to come work for me, or do you know anybody? Oh, no, I don't. But you remember Cassidy? She's doing this now. She's looking for a job. So I'm telling you, it happens like that. It happens like that. But I know we're 2 minutes past the hour. Thank you, Tanner and Zoe, for taking time out of your day to host this, help us with this first NACMA Academy session. Nick and James, and I know Steph isn't here, but we'll give a deuce to Steph as well. Appreciate you guys for all of your timely work with this first session. And Lex and Nick, appreciate you guys as well, and appreciate you guys, the group that's here today, the future. Next in November, we're going to have a networking growth informational interview. Please tell more people. We want to make this fun and exciting. But besides that, Nick, before I close out, is there anything I'm missing, sir?
Nope, you hit it all, Jam. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, I know it's pretty late for the East Coasters, but thank you guys so much. Reach out to us. Take a second and screenshot those contact information. Hit us on Twitter, and if you can, give us a shout out on NACMA News. Say NACMA Academy is the best ever. Other than that, y'all have a great day, and stay positive. Peace.